Hello, hello. This is the first ever Lutro Customs unboxing. Well, no, that's not fair. Let's not call it an unboxing. Basically, the dream here is to go through the different modding stores and provide you guys, dare I say, expert opinion. I always hate saying that about myself. I never like putting myself in any kind of limelight, and those that know me, know that I'm like that. But I'd like to give you, in my opinion, what makes good sleeving supplies, what makes good modding supplies. Now, those that know me know that my first love is sleeving, but I do very much enjoy modding. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go through this package. This is the first one to arrive. Well, that's not true. I've gotten stuff from Corsair, NZXT, Performance PC, Skits Mod, I think I said NZXT. I've gotten stuff from a lot of people. Mayhems has sent me stuff as well, and a couple other hard drive manufacturers. But that's for mod parts. MNPC Tech was in there as well. Now, I have a lot more coming than just this company. BitTech has jumped in, and I can't remember them off the top of my head, and for that, I'm sorry. But this came from sleeve-modding.com. The owner's email. He is a great guy. He really cares about his modders, and he cares that he carries quality stuff. And when I first did the walkthrough with him, looking at his stuff, the things that I immediately told him that were red flags to me, he wrote down and is already going to change them. So if any of this comes out bad, then be pleased in knowing that it's getting changed. Again, I don't like to call myself a top authority on this type of stuff, but when it comes to sleeving, I've done my fair share. And I've done my research, and I've used just about everything out there. So this will probably be a 2 or 3 part review. I'm going to try to go over certain specifics right away here, but let's open this up and show it. Now, along with this package came more carbon fiber film than I'm ever going to use in my entire life. He was going to send me a little extra because I wanted to do my car. But I just told him, just send me the samples. Well, he ends up sending me this gigantic roll of a bunch of different kinds. So I'll be doing that in a different review. Hopefully we can put some of the white carbon fiber on the Aspros mod and see how that looks. So let's open this box. As you can see, this is a gigantic box. Now, he pretty much sent me almost one of everything in his store. Which is incredible. Now, I wonder if I'm going to have room here to do this. Just let me pull all this stuff out here. These are different sizes. And I think, first and foremost, we are just going to go over the sleeving and the heat shrink here. And as you can see, there is a whole ton of it. I mean, here, I'll pull out the rest of it so you guys can see here. He literally sent me one of everything. And when you do a review, you should really shut off your phone because your wife likes to call you in the middle of it. No, I'm just kidding. My wife did just call me, though. So, let me get my camera straight here. Yeah. And let's point down so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. So, first and foremost, let's just hit up some of this stuff as we go here. He has pins, as any mod shop does. Now, he sells them off the reel, which you can get them in a bag and off the reel. Some of them do come on a reel. These pins right here are the actual Molex kind. All of them are actually Molex brand. What's cool about this is these are for your fans. These are the male side of the fan extensions. They're great pins. They have the long wings. They'll do you just fine. You can't get much better than that, nor do I have to really go into it too far. Now, he does have the Molex 4-pin crimps here. Now, they're just as good as every other kind. The wings are a little bit shorter on these, and, I'm not sure why that is. Now, if I had my other ones to compare them to, I'd be able to tell you a little bit better. But I think most of the time they're a little bit shorter on the actual Molex. These are female Molex. And again, there's not too much with pins. With pins, what you're really looking for, this is male Molex. What you're looking for is a long wing. Now, a lot of mod shops sell the cheaper ones that they can get because the Molex ones cost more. Well, the third-party pins that you buy have really short wings on the back. What that does is it makes it hard to crimp double wires, and it just doesn't get a good bite into the crimp. So you always want to go with the Molex brand crimps. Pay the extra for it. Now, you should not have to pay $1 for four crimps. Find some place that sells them cheaper. I'm not going to go through his prices here, but I do know his prices are better than most. You actually get an abundance of them. And these are your fan clips, female side. And then that's another thing that he offers. I'm going to go over that here in a second. These are your SATA crimps. Now, let me see if I can show you a little bit here. The great thing about these SATA crimps is that these are for the 90-degree plugs. They are not for the ones that you punch into the wire. These are for the ones that terminate at the end with a crimp. I always suggest using these and doing a single SATA per sleeve. What's awesome about that is you don't have to go through those crazy crimps and then try to sleeve in between it. You can just sleeve these like a normal wire. I always suggest that people do this unless they have like 500 different SATA devices. And these are, and here, I'm really shaky. I've been having to do a lot of antibiotics and stuff for my bronchitis here. But let me show you what I mean. Now, if you can see that, the wings are long. I already threw away all my other ones, so I have nothing to compare to. But these are perfect for crimping. Your wings should always be longer than the rest of it, and they will crimp really, really well. And those are the pins most people are familiar with. Now, here's an awesome thing that I have not seen another mod shop carry. Let me dump out my connectors here and make a huge mess. And see if I can find them. And just so you guys know, these are the ones that you crimp into. These are the SATA connectors. These ones are a pain in the butt to sleeve in between. But you can make it happen, and everybody's been wanting me to do a video on it because they're, you know, kind of a pain in the butt. Where are they? There they are. Now, when you've got a USB header, sometimes the cable's really long and you want to shorten it down. Now, I've not seen very many shops even carry, you know, the housings for the USB connectors, let alone for the, you know, power switch and individual lights and whatnot. Well, he actually supplies the pins for them and the connectors. That is great for a really custom modder. You know, you can't find those everywhere. In fact, they're kind of hard pieces to buy if you go out and you try to find them yourself. I remember on OCN a while ago, looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and then finally we found them. Well, he already did all the work, found them for you, and it makes it much easier to take care of that task. Now, of course, he has Molex 4 pins, female fans, male fans, that's a female 3-pin, this is a female 4-pin, male 3-pin, and these are all basic connectors. There's nothing wrong with them. That's your female 4-pin Molex. Here was the connector I was talking about. Hopefully this doesn't look like a huge gigantic mess, and I'm going to try my best, but there's just so much stuff to go through here. A lot of it doesn't need thorough going over, but we should. As you can see, I'm shaking like a leaf, and if that translates onto the video, I am incredibly sorry. Here's the pin I'm talking about. Those pins with the fan little clip on them, they connect straight into this. This is a straight connector. If you are doing SATA and you only have 3 devices, please make single wires and just single sleeve it like this. This will take care of all of your, you know, problems with all this, and it works out really good. I love these things, and the second I found out about them, that is how I did everything from there. Now you got your 4-pin male. There's more of your single connectors. Those are washers. These are, you know, your basic washer. You really can't go over. You know, you can't dig into them. They're nice and shiny. They look great. Here's your, I think that was the M3 washer. This is your 632 washer. These are LED support spacers. You drill a hole, you pop them in. They have little clips on the other side, and you can route your LEDs perfectly. These are fan grommets, which are nice to have. He has just a huge selection of nice stuff here. Now, he carries these, and most people aren't ever going to use these, but if you ever wanted to make your own PCB, like a fan controller that has a Molex going into it, a bunch of fan coming out, fan male connectors, that's a good offer to have. Now, what else do we got here? We have your 6-pin PCI male, 8-pin PCI, and here is something that I did have a little bit of a gripe on. Now there's two things wrong with these. These are your basic colored connectors that you see. Now, I hate these. One, because the plastic is kind of see-through. Now you can kind of see that. Now that just makes a mess when you're actually putting in the connector, and you can kind of see it through the side. I hate that. This is another thing that really gripes me. Now, most of the time when you order Molex parts, they have these wings. These wings are so that it gets supported. You know, you drill your hole or Dremel your hole, and then it gets supported in the actual bottom. They have a purpose, but if you're just doing extensions, they kind of look ugly and wonky. So I've already told him that on all of his, you know, I'm just having a total brain fart here. This is a male connector. They have the wings on them, and I think 90% of his connectors have the wings, and I told him he needs to get rid of them. Honestly, it's not that big a deal. You can cut them off, but if you have OCD like I do, it will bug the crud out of you. So, and that's not to say that these can't be used, but if they're see-through, they don't pass my own test. And that's the same thing with these blue ones. They have the wings, and then they're see-through as well. And that's just a personal gripe. You know, that's not the very worst of things that can be offered. Now here is an awesome thing that he included. Now when you're modding, there's two things you want in a heat gun. You want a heat gun that gets hot and has a bunch of settings. And you want a reducer. Now you want the reducer because when you put the pin up here, if you don't have a reducer, the heat kind of goes everywhere and it gets, you know, it melts everything. He has an actual really tiny reducer on his, and that's what it comes with. It's a TGK hot air blower. You know, I don't know the actual quality or the build of them, but it has a high, low, and an off setting. Now what's also awesome about this is it has an LCD readout on the temperature. So you can make that as hot or as low as you want. And that is a feature in a heat gun for around the same price. I think it's like $28. Please don't quote me on that. Normally you don't get that type of feature. How often you'll use it, I don't know, but it's a nice feature to have. It's a big gun, thick cord. Another little nice thing is that it has a holder. Now, whether you're really going to use the holder or not, you know, you just set it on its end like this. It has a good base so that you can set it up, and anybody that's used a heat gun knows that you will burn carpet, rugs. You know, I've burnt a hole in just about everything with a heat gun, so that is not fun. We're just going to continue on in these bags here that I grab out. This man has all sorts of screws. They're all pretty good quality. If you had to compare them to anything, they're not as glossy as the really oily ones. The anodizing on them is pretty good. But I'm not going to say it's excellent. I'm only going to say it's pretty good. Those are M3s. These are M3s hex. Because when I looked at some of these, let me see if I can find you an example here. The anodizing was a little weak in some places, and here is one. Let me see if I can pull this out here. As I shake like I'm going through a mini seizure. Okay. That was not the one I was trying to grab. So if you try to grab one out of a huge package, you're never really going to get the one you really want. Oh, you know what, I'll dump them on and check. Well, let's see. You know, it's probably going to be really hard to translate that across the camera, but I at least want to show you one example of what I'm talking about. And you're talking, you know, one out of maybe, those are all pretty good. and I've only noticed it on the button head hex. Well, I'll just explain it because I already know that it's never going to translate over the camera. When they anodized it, they didn't anodize the button head perfectly. So on some of them, there is leakage. What I mean by that is the connector part, the button head, you can actually see some of the anodizing layer underneath of it, and it shows through. And it actually shows through as a little bit of copper or aluminum. So that does create kind of a problem if you're, but you know, if it's in a case, you're really not going to see that too much. But if you have massive OCD, you know, he said he was already going to be trying a different, you know, connector place for it. He has these awesome snap button heads. Now, what's cool about these is that they're actually connected by a little, I gotta think of technical words here. Derpader. It has like a little flap. Now the flap allows it to snap and stay on, and it doesn't really get in the way. And if you hate the snap, grab an X-Acto knife and get rid of it. But the tops have a really nice glossy finish to them. Now you can get rid of the glossy finish by using a little bit of sandpaper. But he carries a variety of screws. He has some that are fatter on the end, M4, M3, 632. Carries them all, and they're awesome, except for the anodizing. That's the only thing that I really want to, you know, tell you that's probably not the greatest. Now he carries, this is actually on my tool guide. This is your basic cheap cable stripper. Now these are awesome cable strippers. You know, they're made in mass quantities, and then you see a bunch of different ones with labels right here. This one doesn't actually have a label, so you probably got it wholesale. What's great about these is that they work. What's not great about these is if you try to get a really small amount, you can actually see right there that it has a, what do you call it, a measurement there. Sometimes it pulls the sleeving, or the insulation on the wire, and sometimes it cuts it right away. It's using a pinch method, and if you use this over and over, it'll start pulling on the wire, and you won't get even strips. So you got to be really careful and keep a watchful eye. Sometimes you'll have to do it twice to make sure you get it. Otherwise, for those not wanting to spend a bunch of money, this is an awesome tool. Just make sure that it's doing the right length, because that little bit of length on your crimp will definitely make a difference when you do your extension or when you do your cabling. Enough to throw it off to where you'll get mad about it. Now here's the crimper that he has. This is a SN28B. Now, I've used these before. They are an, I want to say, okay crimper. I don't want to say that they're bad or anything, because they're really not bad. They do allow for a bite. However, on the lowest setting, using the control right here, it still crushes the wire a little bit. And you can check that out in my FAQ, and I'll leave a link there so in YouTube here, so you could see that. But he informed me that you can adjust it by adjusting these bolts up here on the top. And now I haven't done it myself, and I'm going to take his word for it, and I'm gonna actually use this one, although I have another one, but I want to use this one. He has a little diagram that he'll send with it to show you how to do it. Now I have a crimper shootout coming up here pretty soon, where I'll go through a bunch of crimpers. I have about 5 more coming on their way that I'm going to do a review on, plus a little surprise when that goes through too. But we'll test this later, and we'll make sure. For now, I've already done testing on the SN28B. It's a good crimper. If you're wanting to save money, I would go with this. Although honestly, and I hate doing this, but the only crimper that I found that is the best crimper right now is 2 of them. The actual Molex one, which is very expensive, and the MDPC one. The MDPC, as of right now, before I've tested the 5 new ones coming in, is the top crimper. But this will do it. This is better than the Hands Long HD 2055, I think it is. This is better than that. So this is about mid-grade crimper. You guys following along here? I know this is a lot of information, but you know, when you're going through stuff like this, you really don't have to go through too much of it. This was another interesting product that I see that he had, and it's called a wire saddle. Now, what you do, let's see if I can actually get it apart. you put this in your back of your case. Now, it does come with a sticky pad, but we know that cables won't hold on to a sticky pad. You're going to want to, you know, take this off, strip it off, and then put holes in it so you can screw it in. But you put your cables in there, and whoop, and it looks cool. It has a cool little bottom rugged area. If you can see that there, it's like a little rugged on the bottom. But if you were to screw this in, this would be a great addition for cable management. And that's actually the first time I've seen these too. They're called bushings, but they're just grommet holes for your tubing. Now, if you have outside tubing, inside tubing, or wherever you want to put these, this would be a great addition to your case. Now, he also has these fatter grommets, which I actually went to Lowe's and got mine, but they did not look this shiny and nice. You drill a hole that's a little bit smaller than this, you pop it through and you pop your hose through. They have a really nice sticky feel to them, and it grabs fingerprints like crazy. Now, once you get it in and everything and you wipe it off, it's going to be a great addition as well. And that will always make your mod, it's the little touches that make your mod better. And of course he has, this is what we're all familiar with, he has a bunch of different sizes of these. And these are good quality, they're just like all the other ones that I've saw. They do have writing on them, which I kind of wish that there wasn't. But you screw these in the back of your case, and you route your cables through them. That would be more for your single cables and whatnot. Also, you know, a really good product to carry. Now, he sent me this. You guys have seen the no, I don't want to say MDPC, the MNPC Tech, U-channel, I guess it's called. Now, he carries U-channel. The only thing I don't like about his U-channel is that it has these cut little grooves in there. However, those little cut grooves are going to allow you to go over corners and make 90-degree angles just a little bit better. However, if you don't have it hidden, you're going to see those, and my personal opinion is that this doesn't pass. I wouldn't use it. So, but it's cheap, and it works, and if it's in a spot where nobody sees and you need a little bit of protection for your cables, it would work. However, you know, everything in modding is about aesthetics, and if you don't take the time to be that nitpicky after you spent thousands of dollars on your mod, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's kind of pointless if you're not really spending the time on your mod. Now, here's more of those clips. Now, these would be more for your 24 pin, obviously they're bigger. And this is a great idea. If you have that much space, I think it's about an inch, if you have that much space in the back of your case, why not use something like this to corral your cables? You know, I actually might use a couple of those in one of my mods here coming up, just because they work pretty dang good. And if you sleeve a 24 pin, here's an example. Here's an example of a 24 pin. Now, actually, let's do this. Since I'm sitting here, let's find out which one works better. Now, this is a little bit big for a 24 pin, but if you wanted to put an 8 pin in there, it would work too. Let's grab this smaller one over here. And these, if you notice, are a little bit different. It even has a little clasp on here to hold the wires down more. So, it's looking like this would be pretty good for a 24 pin. And you can even spread it out if you wanted to. Now, it's not the perfect size of a 24 pin, which is unfortunate. However, let me grab the other ones that I had out just a little bit ago, because oh, no, I think this one's too small too. That's unfortunate. This is going to hold, I'd say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to hold 18 wires perfectly. Right? Right? You make me a liar? Don't make me a liar. Okay, yeah, 18 cables perfectly. So, you're going to have to mix and match and, you know, figure out for yourself. It's unfortunate that they're not perfectly for a 24 pin, but I'm somehow doubting that these were made specifically for specifically, you know, 424 pin or cables. However, with a little bit of taste, and if you use it right, you can set it up perfectly. Move all this stuff over. You know what? I have a little bit of time here. Why not go over the sleeving? Now, you guys know... Oh, here, let's go over this while it's sitting here. He also sent me this awesome little push button thing. And I have half a mind to put this in my car, but I'm not going to. Now, this is obviously for a car. It's a start, engine, stop. Now, this would be a neat mod for a computer. You know, if you guys had, you know, a mod themed or whatnot, or a engine themed or car themed, it would work really well. It's just a little neat extra thing that he had in there. Okay, now you guys know that sleeving and heat shrink I'm incredibly picky with. So to go over this, we're going to start with the heat shrink, and we're going to start with something that I find really neat. I have not seen anybody offer heat shrink in SATA size that was pre-cut. He has a machine do this, so it's pristinely cut. The only thing that I didn't like a little bit is that it's kind of short. And I made that known to him, and he's going to be extending it a little bit from now on. And you guys, when you order from him, that's sleeve-modding.com, make sure that you get the longer ones, because this is just a hair under what you would want for a sleeved cable. Now, I did do a SATA cable somewhere, and for the life of me, I would not be able to tell you where it is because I just cleaned up my whole mod table here. But it's cool to know that this is offered, because you'll want something that's pristine, straight, and right on whenever you do this. So, he offers more colors than this, I believe. The heat shrink on the SATA side is really good. I believe it's a 3-to-1. It's plenty big to get over a cable. It's plenty big to suck down onto a connector, and it works really well. It is a thin-walled, non-adhesive heat shrink, and it works awesome. So that's a nice little touch that he did. Now, his heat shrink is another story. I don't know that he offers, you're going to have to check his store if he offers this pre-cut. I told him that he needs to, because that's always a big thing. Now, his tubing heat shrink here that he would offer in pre-cut, I believe he's doing that here soon. It's a little bit of a thicker wall. The only thing I don't like about it is that it is 3-to-1. Now, let me see if I can find a lighter here. What I like in heat shrink is that it takes heat well. Now, his heat shrink, and we'll even do a test here so you can watch as I shake. His heat shrink expands. It does this gummy thing, as you guys can see. And I'll do it one more time in the camera so you guys can see it. It actually expands and gets weird, and then turns gummy. Now, for heat shrink, it just doesn't work. And I've told him that he needs to get a different source, because people aren't going to want to buy this. So until he changes this, you know, thumbs down. I'm sorry, buddy. But I already told him this, so he knows that it's changing. I would not get his heat shrink. His SATA heat shrink works perfectly. It does not do that. As much. Now, as you can see, it just goes down to size and it holds its shape, and it doesn't do that weird curly thing. And for that, the SATA shrink is fine. But if you look at this, you can't use this. It's unusable, especially for sleeving. I wouldn't even use it for heat shrinkless, because it'll melt on your wire, and that won't work for anybody. So let's dive into his SATA colors here, and this is everything he has in SATA. So the colors he has, I like his red. His red is really, really a good color. I'm going to try to go through this fast because my camera's about to die. Now, the red is a very bright red. It could do with a little bit of darkening, Now the weave on here is going to look strangely familiar, and that is because it is exactly the same weave as MDPC. Now, whether he copied him or not, you know, that's not me to say. But knowing that it's the same weave as MDPC, it's going to be the same quality except for the colors. Now, this is a red. It could be a little bit darker, so it'll show up really light in your system. But overall, it's a good SATA sleeve. And I've already used it to do some SATA cabling. It works perfectly. There's really no difference around. Now, his... I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to have a huge mess by the time I'm done here. Now this is the orange. Now I'm going to show you the colors in orange because it works out better that way, or the colors here. Now my camera's showing it as a weirdly different color, and I hate that, but it is a safety orange, just like you would see on Hunter orange. It's non-see-through. The actual plastic is opaque, which is awesome. Now there's some other boards out here that use this. Yeah, I wish the color wasn't so off my camera. But I'll take a picture of it later, and then I'll post it as well. Now, I wish the color here was a little bit darker, but it works just fine. His white is a really good white. Non-see-through, non-opaque. Works great. Now, his blue, this is a really dark blue. And he doesn't really have any other offerings for blue, except for maybe one other. But it's a royal blue. I don't see it getting used too incredibly much in the system, but again, it's non-see-through, meaning the plastic is opaque, and it's good. I mean, not too much to say other than the color's a little weird. The gray is a dark gray, good as any other color. I see this getting used a little bit more, non-opaque. Again, another good color. And it's going to sound like a broken record here. Now his green shows up as a dark green on there, but this is actually a really light green, more like an actual green. It would have been nice if you would have got a neon type green. Again, I don't see this color being used too much because it's kind of like a forest green. But I've told him this and he knows it. And the black is a black. Works really well, looks like every other black. Couldn't have done much better. It's a great sleeving. Now, I'm actually really happy about this color right here. This is a banana yellow. It's kind of a darker yellow. It fits most MSI systems. I like the fact that it's darker. He could not have done this color any better. Again, it's opaque and the plastic is non-see-through. Now, he offers a bigger size for USB sleeving, and in pretty much all the colors that you just saw, but he does have a neon color in this. Now, the blue here is a little bit lighter blue. It's more of a blue. Now, this is a good stand-on for a color. Again, it's non-see-through, perfect sleeving. I mean, you can't get much better. And there's the neon. Now, it shows up as lime, but trust me, it's a neon green, and all these other colors are the same. Except for he adds this weird maroon color, and he likes this color, so I try not to make him feel bad about it. And this is actually in SATA, but it's a weird maroon color. It's not quite blood red, but it's straight purple, dark purple. It kind of reminds me of a football team, and for the life of me, I'm not a football watcher, so please don't be mad at me that I don't know it. But again, it's one of those colors that I just don't see selling very much or getting used. Now we're going to go over the money makers. These are the cable sleevings that we're going to be using for single sleeve. Now I'm going to go over the ones that I don't like here really quick. This is his aqua blue. Now it is kind of see-through, and I don't like when they use the filament that's see-through because you can kind of see the wire underneath of it, and it just adds a cheap look to it. Now, I think it's UV, and I think that's the reason why it's see-through. But again, this would not be the choice of sleeving I would use for aqua. It's not going to kill the deal, but when it comes to my OCD-ness, this does not work. And I've told him about that, and he's already in the ways of changing it. Again, here's that green. Now, I've already tested this sleeving quite a bit and did some cables with it. I don't actually have them laying around. but the diameter is smaller than MDPC. I think it's 4 millimeter, but it still does allow for a little bit of expanding. Like I said, the weave is just like MDPC, and I hate comparing it, but you know, since MDP has the standard on sleeving, you know, you might as well use one of the best as, you know, your standard. I like the smaller diameter. It does allow you to get a tighter weave as you go, and it's a little bit easier to work with when it comes to doing that. Now, all these pieces are about 3 millimeters in length, or 3 meters in length. Let's see if I can just spread them out. Here's where you can kind of see the yellow shine. I like the way it's a little bit darker. It makes for, you know, just a good cable, and it matches a lot of the new MSI stuff coming out, and a lot of the other new motherboards that are using yellow. But I'm not going to go through all these colors because, you know, I just don't want to be a broken record here. The weave is good. It melts perfectly. The plastic's nice. The only ones that I had a problem with are, you know, the maroon. Like I said, it's not a color that's going to be used very often. The really dark blue can be used here and there. His choices for colors are, you know, kind of smaller, but, you know, for the most part, you're going to be able to use this with everything. You can find what you need to do except for a certain combo of colors in here for sleeving. The sleeving, like I said, is about 4 millimeters or 3 millimeters, I think, somewhere in there. It's a good sleeving. You could not go wrong buying it. You'll have a fun time sleeving with it. There's nothing about it that makes me say you never want to use this again in your entire life. You know, it's just good sleeve. I wish he had more colors, like I said. And I'm going to stop going on like a broken record here. But the question is would I use this? I would use certain colors in here. Like I said, that's the only difference. But end point here, everything that I've went through, all I could really find was small little nitpicky things that most experienced modders wouldn't like. His shop has very fast shipping. It is across the pond, but otherwise, it's a great shop. You'll enjoy shopping there. Quality stuff all around. Maybe even some colors that you might not be able to get your hands on in some places if you know wanted that maroon color or that actual green color, and maybe even the darker yellow. But you can't go wrong. You know, I give the shop A. I grade it as an A. You won't go bad getting your sleeving from there, and you'll have a happy experience. If you guys have any questions about anything, I will leave the link to the shop in the bottom. And there, of course, there is, you know, a couple more products here and there that I did not get. I will be going over the carbon fiber in the next review. And hopefully you guys will be able to see me put some of it on the Aspros mod and actually get some work done on it. Because those that are following it know that I haven't done anything with it for a very long time. But again, I give it a grade of an A. It's a great shop. You'll have a fun time buying stuff there. Has a lot of little things that you can't find in other places. And his prices are just as good as any other. So give sleeving-modding.com a try. And this has been my first review. With sleeving and modding supplies, there's really not too much you can say. There's just little details that, you know, really make the product shine. And like I said, all I could find was little nitpicky stuff here. You pretty much have your run-of-the-mill mod shop. You have a great selection of stuff, and you can't go wrong. So I thank you for watching my review. Again, if you have any questions, you can get a hold of me on my FAQ on OCN. You can post them on YouTube, or you can go to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Lutro, Lutro0 Customs, Customs. And that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope this was informative, and I hope that it gave you a little bit more, got rid of that anxiety from buying a shop that you've never bought from before. I do know that if you have any questions with your orders, you can get a hold of him at sleeving-modding.com. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and enjoy, and happy modding.